Hey, welcome guys back to Meetings of Maverick. I'm your host Maverick, and right now we're going to be watching the finale to Boogiepop. So again, my apologies for the delayed episode. I was on a business trip and I just got back yesterday. So now I'm recording this and hopefully it's going to be a good one. Especially as the finale, you should go out on a bang, right? So, last episode, we still have a lot of loose ends that are not tied up yet. First of all, what exactly is Nitoki's problem, and why does Sao Tome manifest in front of her? I made some predictions last episode, which, again, I think, in the end, I still believe it's something to do with her relationship problems, if you will, but let's see. Let's see what exactly happens there. We also learned that Kyoichiro Teratsuki was essentially a Towa organization agent, right? And he, I guess in the end, decided to gain his humanity and break free from the organization, and in his final act of defiance and a big FU to the Towa, decided to make this tower in order to warn some other potential enemies of the Towa, to let them know of the Towa's existence and for them to be prepared themselves. Now, what does this actually have to do with Habura as well as with Tanaka, right? So, I had been assuming this whole time that the King of Distortion was actually Kyoichiro Teratsuki. Now it's not entirely certain to me, right? We know that Kyoichiro was assassinated by this Eugene character at the very end of last episode. So is the King of Distortion actually Eugene? Or is the King of Distortion actually the alter ego of Kyoichiro? Whatever the case, I still believe it has to do with one of them. Or it could be something with Tanaka as well, who last episode seemed to be possessed by the King of Distortion. Like maybe the King of Distortion came from him? Question mark? I don't know. But in any case, I hope these are the questions that can be answered within this episode. So, what am I looking for? I'm looking for my questions to be answered. I'm looking for Boogiepop to kick some ass, either through action or through his words of dialogue. And I'm looking for some kick-ass music. So, hopefully, that's all going to be in this episode. So, without further ado, let's just get right in and see what happens. So, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Oh yeah, and I forgot about it. Stairway to Heaven. What? The explanation of the result? Wait, what? What? Huh? Yeah. So is the King of Distortion Tanaka, or did he just possess his body? Wait, so what happened there? I'm so confused right now. What? Hmm. Yeah, so it does have to do with her relationship problems. Yeah. But still, what does this have to do with Satome? Huh? Like, sure, I can get that that is what's bugging her. But what does that have to do with Satome? Nope. Oh, so Tanaka is actually the king of distortion? I mean, sure, like, I still don't think that's a bad thing inherently. So that actually is Tanaka's power. Huh? Really? For a distortion in Tanaka's own heart? Guilt of what? His Naoko who died? Hmm. Which was not reflected in the first arc at all, I just want to point out. Saotome? Hmm. The Imaginator?
人から死を取り出して集めれば何か巨大なものが作れるはずだという考えに取りつかれた。それが人という限界を突破することだと思い込んだ少女は世界の敵になった。どちらも僕の敵になってしまったものの話だ。彼らには残念ながらそれ以外の道も未来もなかった。それが彼らにとって幸か不幸かは定かでない。あるいは彼らはそんなことはどう
So he's basically saying you still have a chance to turn back.
ある種の可能性が形になってこの世界に現れただけの主体のない存在なのかもしれない。だが君はどうなんだろうね。
Doesn't have free will, basically.
君はさっきどんなに道が長くともと言った。つまりこの先何があろうとも対応しようという柔軟性があるということだ。
Hmm.
僕がまだ迷っているとでも思っているのか。
無論迷わぬ存在もある。それはこの世界に絶望しているものだ。だとしたら僕はそれ以上進まぬよう道を遮断する以外ない。が君はそうではない。
ここで受けた傷は現実にも影響が出るぞ。
知ってるよ。それは君も同じだ。おそらく君は今少し意地になっているだけじゃないか。今ここでその実験とやらをやめても実はあまり未練はないんじゃないのか。
そんなことは。
そもそも君は僕のことを敵
What's the use of changing the background?
どうして敵だと思うんだ。
敵じゃないとでも言いたいのか。
もっと正確に言おう。君はなぜ自分のことを悪だと思うんだ。君がやっていることは悪いことなのか。君自身誰も傷つけていないと言っていた。このビルに人を閉じ込めたのは君か。違うだろう。
Yeah, that's just a coincidence, right?
なぜ周囲に敵が存在すると思い込むんだ。そんなに辛かったのか。田中史郎はそんなにも自分は悪いやつだと自分を責めていたのか。
いい時先輩はどう思いますか。
Hmm?
彼女は何を考えていたと思います。
Yeah, is she dead?
彼女はいつも楽しそうに言ってた。ゲイ、私さ、好きな人がいるのって。私はそんな風に言えるのが少し羨ましかった。ねえ、田中君、あなた直子さんのことが好きだったの？
Good question.
今の私ならわかる。きっと田中
By the way, this BGM is fantastic.
直子さんは田中君のことを本当に好きだったけど、田中君自身は自分の気持ちが最後までわからなかった。それでそのまま直子さんがいなくなってしまって、どうしていいかわからなくて、罪悪感から歪曲王を作って。
Nice recap.
つまりそれって。そう、それが君自身の歪みだ。
So basically similar to the girl from last episode.
相手は僕ではないようだな。でも田中君、直子さんならきっと笑ってこう言うと思う。人のことを気にする前に自分のことを何とかしなよって。田中君。
Hmm? Alright, so back to reality. Boogie.
あの行動。
田中君、あなたなの？
先輩、あそこにあるキーボードに解除コードを。
Where'd the other guy go? It's that simple? Just directly. Oh.
やっぱりこれなんでしょ？
Yeah, this is Boogiepop's theme. So just like that? And here I was thinking it was gonna be like a big riddle or whatnot. Okay. Oh, it's time to wake up.
終幕には似つかわしくない曲だが、まあ仕方がない。
終幕って終わるの？
ああ、お別れだ。歪みは歪みらしく、元の場所に戻ることになったよ。
そうなの。残念だわ。すごく楽しかったから。
それは何よりだよ。
本当よ。いろいろな胸の使いが出たような気がする。本物と話してもこうはいかなかったわ、きっと。
うん。
あなたのことは忘れない。
いや、君は忘れるよ。歪みが解消された後では、それが何だったのか、人は覚えていないものなのさ。
Okay.
よくわからないけど。
それでいい。君たち親子はくぐり抜けたんだ。
でも、あなたはそれで寂しくないの？覚えていてもらえないなんて。
Wait, so the King of Distortion disappears forever?
兄弟たちの道は長い。寂しいとか思っている余裕はないんだよ。
ねえ、あなたはどこにいるの？
私はどこにでもいて、どこにもいない存在。
まこと？起きなさい、まこと。あれ、お母さん。ブギーポップは？ゾーラギをバシッとやっつけちゃって、ほんとすごかったんだよ、ブギーポップ。
So. Oh.
やあ、終わったの？ああ、僕の出番はもうないようだ。そう、それじゃ。また会える？僕なんかとは二度と会おうなんて思わない方がいいのさ。じゃあさ、もしもよ、もしも私が、あんたの敵になったら。君が僕の敵？
Why?
もしそうなったらさ。
やっと見つけた。大丈夫かよ。
何がよ。
はあ、何がって、お前こんな事件が起きてんだぞ。しかも怒っていなくなった直後だし、俺は必死
その時は僕も君に容赦しないと約束しよう。
せっかくのデートだったのに何をやってるんだあいつは。
Is that like a hidden plot line for the future?
ニートキなんでこんなところに。
武田先輩、こんなところで何してるんですか先輩。
ああ、いや、
And so she's facing the problems head on.
ニートキこそ何してんだこんなところで。
私は気になる人を追いかけてきただけです。そしたらこんなことに巻き込まれちゃって。
そっか、お互い災難だったな。
ええ、でもおかげでその人には会えましたけどね。もしかして先輩、今自分のことだって思いました？それって自意識過剰ですよ。
そういうわけじゃないけど。
先輩のことじゃありませんから。で、先輩はなんでここに？
そうだ、ニートキ、変なこと聞くけどさ、この曲をかけた人知らないか？
Oh, I.
そいつ今どこに？
ここです。かけたの私ですけど。私じゃ変ですか？
いや、
先輩、宮下さんを探してるんでしょ？
ああ、いや、そうなんだけど。
やっぱり宮下さんならさっき会いましたよ。ここの下で。
Does Keiji actually don't know that other people know about Boogiepop?
電波が通じてなかったから入れ違ったんじゃないですか？急いで行って。
Poor Miyashita, she never knows what's going on.
じゃあ俺はこれで。あのさ、ニートキ、悪かったな。
何がです？
いや、なんか一応な。
言ったでしょ、追いかけたのは先輩じゃありませんから。
Oh, that's true.
だったな。
おかげで自分の気持ちもはっきりと分かりました。どうも。それじゃ先輩。
ああ、それじゃ。
Oh, okay, a nice ending to her story.
さようなら。
結局これは大富豪寺付の孤独が生んだ狂気の犯罪とかそんな感じで処理されるんだろうな。けどなんかすっきりしねえんだよな。
そういうものさ。
Yeah, so the King of Distortion still exists in Tanaka's body, part of his power now. Oh. Who's here now? Keiji?
なんで僕と分かった？
わかるよ。友達の顔くらい。
Guess that's a nice callback to the first episode.
危機は去ったよ、武田くん。
I don't know. I actually really don't know how I feel about this ending. Like, what exactly happened? No, I mean, I don't literally mean I don't know what happened. I mean, well, at least now we know who has powers and whatnot, and I guess they also, as a consequence of everything that happened here, learn about the Toa organization as well. And then what? Well, okay, to be fair, this is a super long series, so it's not reasonable to expect each of the parts to be self-contained and contain all the answers. But, I'll talk about it a little bit more after the ending. See you, Heartbreakers. As always, Boogiepop has great BGM. Alrighty, so that was the finale for Boogiepop of this season. Let's talk a little bit about this episode first, right, before we move on to the overall review of the series. So, it turns out that the King of Distortion was actually Tanaka all along, instead of Kyoichiro. And, in fact, the two are operating independently. It's just by coincidence, by chance, that the two sort of collaborated into the situation that we see within this arc. So, yeah, we got that out of the way, and now Tanaka is trying to do his own thing, right? And essentially declaring himself an enemy of Boogiepop. And so his entire situation was that he was born from basically the regret. He's the alter ego, right? So I originally thought that it was the King of Distortion was the alter ego or manifestation of Kyoichiro, but no, it's instead the manifestation of the regrets of Tanaka. And due to his, I guess, grief over losing Naoko, who appeared in the first arc. So that was that, right? And I did like... I'm actually kind of wondering if they deliberately positioned this as it is, including what happened to Michimoto, the girl who had a big fight with her friend, as well as Nitoki as well, who in this episode kind of resolved her situation in regards to her love. And I say this because in Tanaka's situation, it's quite similar, right? It's giving birth to another entity out of grief, out of regret, similar to Michimoto's situation, and it also has to do with love, which is sort of related with Nitoki. In fact, I really did like how Nitoki was the one who, you know, in the end, it was actually her who gave the final blow. Not that they were actually fighting, but the final sentence, right? Before worrying about others, take care of yourself first. I thought that was a very apt quote at that point, and I loved how they also juxtaposed Naoko in the background there. That was a nice touch. Also, another part I liked about that scene is how the background changes to reflect Tanaka's feelings or emotions at that time. Now, the rain one I could get, right? That one was pretty obvious. But after I watched it again, it seems that the background actually did change according to what Tanaka was feeling, including such as anger or fear or peace and tranquility or things like that. So it actually did kind of have a meaning to it by reflecting the inner emotions of Tanaka. And so in the end, you know, they did manage to convince him to not declare himself as an enemy, right? And, you know, it kind of makes sense, right? So I've been saying from the very beginning of this arc that I really don't feel that the King of Distortion is doing anything inherently wrong, right? The King of Distortion is just basically telling people to stop procrastinating and face their problems, and he's not even giving much other guidance to it. He's just encouraging people to do an introspective, if you will. This is in comparison to the other manifestations that we had so far, including such as the Imaginator or such as the Man-Eater, I guess you could say, where they try to deliberately or forcefully change someone's personalities or something in an unnatural way, right? So in this case, it's more like just a guidance of letting people to it. The King of Distortion isn't really even steering them towards anything specific. It's just helping you along and saying, hey, you can move along and just say out what the regrets, what your wishes, and whatnot are for. So, like, yeah, so it kind of makes sense that he was not killed by Boogiepop in the end, and instead is allowed to live on within Tanaka's body. Also, I liked how we said the different goodbyes. First of all, the mother. To be honest, I still don't have any idea what the mother is here for. Like, what does her story have to do with everything? Is it simply just to give us some context about Kyoichiro and how he's sort of like the billionaire player who likes to leave, who likes to, you know, have a lot of women? Or is there any more advanced meaning for her being there? Or maybe there's no meaning at all, right? And as well as Nitoki, right? Nitoki also finally, you know, learned what was wrong with her, learned what her regret was, and so in this episode, in the very ending, she faced her problems head on, right? Essentially talking the situation out with Keiji, and well, that's, yeah. I mean, not Takeda. Well, they're the same person, anyways. But what's it called? So basically, closing that chapter of her life, closing that crush that she had, right? So she finally admitted to it and faced it head on. Yeah, it hurts and whatnot, but no, she said her goodbyes, so she is finished, right? So that was that part. And one I guess kind of question mark that I still have in regards to the plot within this episode is, so Kyoichiro's entire idea was to get people to come to, you know, to test people out, to find potential enemies or potential resistance to the Toa organization, if you will. So in the end, who actually completed that? Was it Harbara or was it Tanaka, right? Because they both reached there. In fact, it was actually Habara who was the one who decided to get to that place in the first place. So does that mean that Habara has also special abilities that can eventually help topple the Toa organization? So I'm guessing that this is going to be a recurring or important character in the future as well. And then what else? So at the very end, Takeda goes to meet Boogiepop again, where, you know, it was a nice callback to the first episode. Kind of went full circle, right? So including, you know, calling Boogiepop or the two of them friends to each other. Also the part where they say Boogiepop says that the threat has been disabled, right? The threat is not here anymore. Like, I felt like that was a nice callback to the first episode, so everything comes full circle and it's all neat and dandy, right? So yeah, that was episode 12 for me. Like I said, it really just answered most of the questions and gave resolutions, and not really much more to go on except for this Toa link, which we really can't know more of until the next season, essentially. So all in all, how do I think about this anime? Well, like, I feel I have a mixed feeling about it, if I'm perfectly honest. There are some parts that I do not quite enjoy from it. Mainly the plot, which is a bit convoluted, and especially the pacing, which I feel like is sometimes too fast and sometimes too slow. And also all the characters. I've been complaining about this from the very beginning, but a lot of these characters just don't have enough screen time or enough background information for us to really feel for them in any way or the other. I still can't remember their names half the time. I need to look up the cheat sheet every time I watch this. I watch an episode of Boogiepop, since I already forgot what they were called. So yeah, and speaking of which, I feel like this is a series that definitely benefits more from binge watching. If not the entire thing, then at least through different arcs, right? So once a complete arc is released, just binge watch through all of them and take it from there, right? I will, but you know, those were the complaints I had. But it definitely has its strong points as well. And I think one of the things that probably nobody would argue about would be the music, right? The music in this episode in particular was also fantastic. That ending part with that what was that song actually called? I kind of forgot, but basically the ending song that played throughout, and you know, that was absolutely fantastic. The music has been fantastic since episode 1, so props to them there. And the dialogue, I actually do enjoy the dialogue, contrary to what some may think. You know, I have my issues with the plot and the pacing, but that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy the dialogue, especially the ones between Boogiepop and the key antagonist. I definitely like to see the sort of clash of ideologies that they have, which makes me even more kind of bitter that, you know, there's a lot more other, to me, less important things. I could listen to them, you know, go back and forth and debate about each respective's philosophical philosophies, and just view that as one of the episodes, right? So I do enjoy that part. So all in all, I feel like this is a series where you know, there's parts that I like, there's parts that I don't like. If a new one comes out eventually, if they're still willing to adapt new material from this series, I think I definitely won't be waiting week after week for the episodes to drop. I would rather binge watch it, at least arc through arc, in order for it to kind of make sense. So, you know, I've been quite critical about this series as a whole, and maybe some of it is a little bit unfair, because I feel like, just to give you guys a quick understanding of what I originally thought about this series, I was more expecting something where I could Sherlock my way through the story, right? I thought it was more of a mystery which we had to solve, where we try to get all the different clues in order to see what happens in the end. But I feel like this series is actually more of a take you along with the ride, don't think too much about that that kind of anime. So maybe my expectations were a little bit skewed from what I originally thought this anime would be. So in that regard, maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh on what it has. So definitely the aesthetic, the music and whatnot is okay. The plot, yeah, I still have my complaints about it there. But overall, like I said, if any new material drops, I'd be more than happy to continue watching this series. I definitely don't think it's a, you know, anime of the year or even anime of the season worthy anime, but you know, it's nice. It's nice. Although again, maybe probably I should read the light novels instead of the anime. But in any case, that's been my review of Boogiepop as a whole. So yeah, and for any of you guys who just came here specifically for this series, welcome, and hopefully you can find my other content interesting as well. For next season, I will be doing some more. I mean, I haven't completely confirmed my schedule for next season yet, but I do recall there being a few mystery stories, supernatural stories in there as well. So if this is something that you like, if you like my format of reviewing each episode of anime, just stick around and I will continue to put out content. So yeah, that's been episode 18 of Boogiepop. This is Mavry from Musings of Mavry. I can't speak now. And I hope I can see you guys again sometime later in another series, or maybe someday later. So until then, stay tuned. Bye bye.